that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn on
bad laws, bad law.
And border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers, significantly. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in the way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed 3 American soldiers, That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place.
She was raped as well.
In our country. We're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living.
That look right there on Biden's face is definitely a Biden shit's
In New
pants.
York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street.
that's
They died
confirmed.
because he doesn't care about our veterans.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Take
care. He
off
doesn't like
Biden's
the
shit
military
pants,
at
dude.
all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by
Thank you,
allowing
President Trump.
all of these people to come in.
President
and it's
Biden,
a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the
Bruh.
PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pit,
Agent Orange?
Agent what?
and he opposed his.
This was
his group opposed
65 years
it. Also in
ago.
a situation where we have great
Should we
respect for
check
veterans.
off Biden bad memory on that one?
One of those burn pits came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was
I
recently
think so.
in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery.
He spoke to the heroes that died?
And 4-star general.
Wow.
And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump.
So mad.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have.
Look at his face,
Think
dude.
that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like
Well,
the 51
did he just say Beau
intelligence
Biden died
agents
in the
are made
war
up,
also?
just like the new thing with the 16
claims he died
economists are
because of
talking.
COVID.
It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers. So he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing
Equip
more
them
for
to go to
veterans
war?
than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander in chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens
There's still
behind.
people behind.
When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine, never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encouraged him to do whatever you want.
He was trying to say Trump.
Listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv, and he in fact didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done, and they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people, and he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians.
Does he have notes?
Humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
He already has.
President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council
Mumble
straight
rap.
through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it.
Bro, it's not what
The
she
first
asked.
stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second
This is what
phase
he
is a
memorized.
ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We're finding the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved
You had
Israel.
nothing to
We
do
are
with
the
that.
biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to
Right.
put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continuing to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
To our
President Trump,
democracy.
just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see. But before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask
Don't
you about
use that
January
word.
6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January
Lowest
6th,
unemployment.
we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left.
Yes.
My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill,
No.
number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop.
Do what?
Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done.
Not like there's not.
They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones who are being held accountable.
So who's responsible for the BLM riots?
And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When
Amen,
they
brother.
ripped down Portland, when they ripped down
Amen.
many
He heard
other
you.
cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
So?
And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him,
Nobody turned over a desk or a statue.
debates we had
The
first time around,
statues
I said,
might
"Will
be
you denounce the Proud Boys?" He said, "No, I'll tell them to stand by." The idea he's refusing, will we denounce these guys? We denounce the people we're talking about now? We denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon
Honor
at a very
conviction.
high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's
No,
simply a lie,
outrageous.
number one.
That
Number
is
two,
moderated
the idea
things
that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president.
No, they've only done it.
Like before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public?
That's what
For
happened.
doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's
Amen.
office
Right
to
on.
start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump.
He's
President
listening
Biden,
to-
you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know
What?
about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that?
You sought
I thought
retribution.
Hitler had some good ideas. What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on
Great people on both
torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried
This
to
is a
stop
lie.
him, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides."
That's a
What
lie.
American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile,
His daughter
carrying
and son-in-law are
swastikas,
Jewish.
were fine people. This is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they
It's
are.
all lies.
The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said.
Yeah, it's
This
a
guy
pack of
has
shit.
no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see this sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run
Look at him.
because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor has, every reasonable
Amen.
anchor has debunked it. And just the other day,
Absolutely.
it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of
No, he doesn't know
Charlottesville.
that.
He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have
No,
to
it
do is
didn't.
listen to what was said at the time.
Yeah, the
And
whole
the
thing.
idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying
Not what he said.
those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Whoa! Can we mute this? So is this where he gets his butt wiped? My butt's been wiped. All right.
Wow.
So that Charlottesville, even Snopes, I think on Monday or was it last Friday, even Snopes finally admitted that Charlottesville quote of there are good people on both sides is not true. I can bring it up.
Clearly.
The-
He knows.
This
said after that he was not talking about the neo-Nazis and the racists.
Yes, he said, I am not talking about, like you said, the neo-Nazis and the racists, there were good people on both sides. That's
and
like
what's-
word for word the quote.
And he literally said before and like 20 times after, what's the word when you when you say denounce? Yeah, thank you. He was like, I denounce those people. And
Oh,
then,
yeah,
like,
multiple
20
times, yes.
after, people would be like, well, then if that's true, will you publicly denounce that? He's like, yes, I denounce them. And then no one gives any coverage over it. And look, I don't want to be the guy that's like sitting here fighting for Trump, right? I'm just like, I'm kind of spent with this whole thing, and I hate all politicians equally. But bro, the lies, the just absolute manipulation, and the thing that gets me just totally revved up is the fact that there are people out there watching right now.
My father-in-law.
Watching this.
My father-in-law.
Like, yes, Biden, go get him, Biden. And Biden's sitting here like just staring at the fucking camera, like half
there's
tarded.
no teleprompter.
And you can tell he's
Biden with more drugs right now.
He's literally struggling with one eye larger than the other, just
it's like
trying to
Popeye.
listen to what they're saying in his ear. He can't do this. Like, he physically, mentally, neurologically, psychologically, he cannot do this. Like, he is not equipped for this. And if he's not equipped for this, for a strongly worded conversation
That he had a week to prepare for, a week of sleeping on his ass or whatever he was doing, or in a crypt with oxygen. I don't know.
Probably drinking infant's blood, but yes, you're right, dude. I'm this is just like nails on a chalkboard for me, dude. I can't handle this.
Well, the thing is, it's if you've actually paid attention and done just some very basic research, you can go find a clip of Trump denouncing the people in Charlottesville, the Nazis in Charlottesville, and then you can find him 25 times back to back minimum
Yeah.
where he's asked about racism and he says, no, I absolutely did not. You know, racists are the freaking scum of the earth.
Yep. And everyone that brought up the whole Charlottesville thing, he publicly said dozens and dozens and dozens of times, no, I denounced those people. I specifically was not talking about the neo-Nazis and the racists. And he even in that same sentence in Charlottesville said that, like, come on, dude, leave. You guys are so desperate to grab onto one little thing that may give you an edge.
Here's the things that...
Sorry, one quick thing. January 6th was a fucking tea party. That was nothing. That was a picnic compared to what you'll see if this continues. Sorry, Rich, go ahead.
All right. So Jared Kushner, Jew, is married to Trump's daughter who converted to Judaism.
Yes.
If you called Bibi Netanyahu right now, he would say Trump is the best president Israel ever had.
Enough of all those facts. Okay. All right, let me bring this back, guys. We'll shut up.
Unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency. Black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge you made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small Black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people.
If you didn't have Biden mumble raps checked already,
that, we find that the impact on the choice that Black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce Black childcare costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for childcare costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those childcare protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any Black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those Black families and those Black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for Black families.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing Black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the Black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking Black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking Black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back.
What?
50% unemployment. He decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated.
Where were you?
Economy. That's why there was no inflation.
In a basement.
There were no jobs. provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in rural communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They've tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels.
No, none of that's
President
true.
Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's
Global
climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott is incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air. And we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever. And we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. Anything he said is true. I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black
doing
colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have those. They don't have the kind of.
Trump is the one who made sure they were
have
permanently funded.
Build these laboratories and all like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. He doesn't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He must undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States.
Amen.
And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones who was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say,
You guys got bingo.
I'm
Put
the one that
bingo
got
in the
insulin
chat.
down
That way
for the
we'll see
seniors.
it.
I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people, but we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Crump got bingo.
The idea is that
Really?
we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything?
Crump, did you actually get bingo? If you got it, it's yours.
The world, number one. We're making significant
Z said he got bingo.
By 2035,
Who?
we'll have cut in half. We have made significant progress.
Who'd you say, Dark?
We set up a climate
Z.
corps for thousands of young
Z,
people.
email
who
me,
know how to
brother.
deal with
Send me a
conflicts like
picture of your
Peace
card.
Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about
Oh, come on.
pollution and
Come
about
on, man. Did I
climate,
count?
I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the
So yeah,
price to
Z,
$35,
email
which I
me.
was calling
The
for
rest of you
one
guys that still have your
voluntarily.
cards up,
I made
let's
sure
keep playing
every
and I'll give
company
you
in the
guys,
world,
I'll
every
put out a second
pharmaceutical company did
plasma
not
pack.
have to
Thank
pay.
you.
And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy.
As long as you don't factor in
share
payroll
by
tax.
increasing from 1%
Yes.
beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, both
That's a
times.
lie.
And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact wanting to cut it as well. The idea that
No.
we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the AC, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA.
Biden had nothing to
And
do
by
with
the way,
that.
The other thing
It's
is,
got
we're in a
nothing to do.
situation where I talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward the tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country.
Yes.
And they're putting them onto Social Security.
Yes.
They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid.
Yes.
They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens.
Yes.
What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden.
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he said he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world.
And
We're doing
raping
better than
children.
any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel
They've all been
laureates,
wrong.
economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession.
They also said
Inflation's
the
gonna increase in the world.
inflation was
And by the way,
transitory.
worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted that him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one.
You mean all the people that are screwing around with us?
That we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number.
Not a joke.
Historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history.
The New York Times could take a vote. I wouldn't believe it.
Conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I grow up and I see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more, because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he somehow helped the middle class. Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up.
people a day.
Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans
close the damn border
overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs, because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away yet, because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there is more to come. But he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe. You can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. It was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 15 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him, because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery.
It ain't gone down.
Roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of...
By fentanyl machine, he must be talking about the machines that produce
fentanyl. When we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations
Amen.
with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job?
Anybody notice they haven't even gone near guns yet?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate.
100 years.
Now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look, I've turned around the horrible situation he left me.
Oh, we're
As I
watching.
said, 15 million new
Yeah.
jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call that to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I've heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and
Now
everybody
he's in a
trusts
stunt
us,
speech.
all of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter.
That trying
I'm
to smile
as
look
good
on
a shape
Biden's
I
face.
was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 225 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6.
Talk about your brains.
Well, anyway, that's what anyway.
There you
Just
go.
to-
If they didn't get cut or
What
cut
he is.
Trump's
Look, I'd
mic,
be
that
happy
should
to
be
have a
there.
driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And well, by the way,
They're bragging about golf. Brag about your brains.
Your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was at 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, you know, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
Let's
let's
not
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president.
Too small.
I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again.
Yes!
We're a failing nation right
Build
now.
back
We're
better.
a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a
Right
World
on.
War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all. A required response.
You already used that line, Biden.
The idea. I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done. What they've
You've
done.
used that line also.
Because we're a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that
Use
border.
that line also.
Then you have a war.
Yeah, but
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election?
Why should he?
Regardless of who wins?
We'll see it and tell the truth.
What he said, if I might.
He said if they were fair elections.
They took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with, he's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election,
That's the
absolutely.
answer.
I would have much rather accepted these.
That's the only answer.
The fraud.
No one
and
else accepts
everything
it.
else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments.
He's squeezing one out.
He is. If you hadn't checked off Biden shit's pants already, there it is again.
To a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one
So did
single
every other
court in
president.
America
Yes.
said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you
No, they said they didn't have standing.
Why? About somehow there was all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand loss. Something snapped in you when you lost.
81 million votes.
We'll
Yeah.
be right back with more.
Whiner. Wow. He recycled a large amount of lines that he memorized. I want to see a golf off. I don't even care about golf. They should have a charity golf off.
I am
Dude,
like
yeah, that would
blown
be
away.
hysterical.
That guy couldn't even see the ball.
I could not believe that he didn't take that opportunity to challenge him to a push-up contest. That would have been a perfect opportunity, right?
Yeah,
He's
Patty.
like, oh, you're 6'4" and you're what, bro? You're literally looking at the camera like an infant that you just have zero idea of what's going on around you. You dementia-ridden fuckhead. This is so frustrating.
I mean, he mumbled and said he was talking about abortion and then talks about murders from illegal immigrants. I'm like,
yeah, I think what he
yeah, they
was
probably told you
trying
not to say that.
He went what he was probably trying to say was we should allow abortions because people come over the border and rape people and they should be able to, and their brothers and sisters rape
Is rape be okay?
Like I don't know. I think what he was going for is saying that people should be able to just poop out babies and end infants' lives whenever they want, because they may have been raped by illegal aliens or what he said was their brother.
Coop, you're a whiner. You need to stop whining.
What can I say?
Stop the whining.
All I do is whine about our government for sure.
Hey, I want to know what's going on in the CNN studio right now. Are they putting Joe on oxygen? What are they doing?
Well, see,
They're
that's
changing
the
the chip.
That is the reason they wouldn't have any reporters in there
Yes.
to talk about this live.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know, there is no audience for this debate.
There's
Even the
not
press
even
corps-
reporters. It's
Yeah.
empty.
The
Yeah.
press corps was not allowed in to watch this live, so that when they go on breaks where someone would be there and kind of watch and see what happens,
Yeah.
none of that.
Well,
And
they don't want to see him, taking amphetamines, drinking infant blood, and things like
Having
that.
his diaper changed.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
what's his name? It's Dana Bash. Who's the other guy? He legit was reporting that Trump said there are fine people on both sides and had to recant it. And
Yeah.
he knows, the CNN people know what Trump said is the truth and what Biden said is a lie, but they did not stop him.
No, they're
They did not
doing
say, Mr. President, that's not true. That's not true. Don't use that line.
And they're communicating with him in his ear. And this is exactly when I wish I was on my StreamYard so I can play my quick little 2.5 second video of Biden saying certain things.
it. Yeah.
It's about
All right.
to come back on.
So apparently Biden had his diaper changed, got a couple more pills. They must
What?
run in there like NASCAR.
What a total shit show, like a pit crew. Bzz,
Yeah.
bzz. Total shit show, bro.
It is now time for the candidates to deliver their closing statements as predetermined.
And again,
by a
notice
coin
they
toss.
haven't
We're gonna
hit
begin with
on
you,
guns.
President Biden, you have 2 minutes.
Good point, Coop.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay.
And then you sent it to Zelensky.
I'm going to make that available to every senior. All along there is happening now, and everybody in America wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are
Lead pipes
for people across the country.
Yeah, he's still stuck on lead pipes.
To bring down inflation.
In Agent Orange?
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or
He gave
Hezbollah,
him
for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. You know, what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump.
Amen.
President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett.
I don't want to stay with you at all.
Anderson Cooper. I can't say what I want to say because YouTube will kick me off.
All right. Well, apparently the debate's over, so let's go ahead and kill that stream. We'll sit around and talk for a minute. So Heath got bingo. He sent me his bingo card. I gave him a choice of 3 plasma cuts. So whichever one he picks, I'll send that out.
No, we only have one bingo winner.
That's all I caught, unless, and I haven't
Okay.
seen anybody else email me.
Crump said that he didn't count and he doesn't want to win.
Yeah.
So I guess that's that. Man, what
That's how
a
Crump
shit
is.
show. Yeah. I'm sorry. You finished doing your thing.
So let me ask you this question, guys. If you liked Biden and didn't like Trump, do you think you could make yourself unbiased and be like, yeah, he seemed cognizant. He
Hold
seemed
on,
like
hold
he
on.
knew what he was.
Teresa Buchanan said they had to tell Biden to stay right with us because he literally might walk off.
Oh,
Yeah. That's what it was.
That's a good point.
Woo!
But you notice
Woo!
they really only hit just a couple of topics tonight. It was taxes,
Mhm.
the border. You know, they bounced a lot back
Yeah.
to taxes, and they got over some job stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so Biden spent 7 days preparing for basically a 3-topic debate.
Yeah. And they talked about the economy, which has literally been destroyed over the last 3.5, 4 years. And even look, I understand that there are powers that be that are well beyond this debate that have been tugging and pulling at the strings that have been impacting commerce, right? Everything from, the karate cold to, everything that happened there with basically only Walmart, Amazon, and McDonald's thriving. Everywhere else was shutting down, closing. More business owners committed suicide. Well, sorry, I don't know how deep you want to get into that.
No, hit it,
Sorry.
man.
I mean, look,
Room temperature themselves.
yeah, I just realized
I want
what
to say
meant
hi to
to.
Frag Out, who doesn't take my phone calls, but that's okay.
Frag Out, what's up, brother?
Well, Frag Out's a busy man.
Yeah, he's a busy man, unlike me.
Very busy. Very
Get over
busy.
me. But notice,
If you like sniffing people, vote for Biden.
They had just that couple of topics tonight. Even though Joe Biden put out his Surgeon General, what, a day
Gun
ago,
violence, yeah.
to do
Yes.
his gun violence thing, gun violence was off topic for tonight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Sniffy
know.
Joe.
That is such a big element of the election. That is such a big voting item for so many people in the United States. That is like a single issue. So the fact that they didn't go over it at all is kind of odd. It honestly, it makes me wonder, okay, then what's the plan? You know what I mean? Like what am I missing? What do they want me to think? I don't know. Or maybe it's just so like
It's-
so polarizing that they are trying to avoid it, or you know what I mean?
Biden and them, his campaign got to set all the topics. And Trump agreed to the rules. He could only talk on those topics.
Yeah.
So, and Biden had all the questions before this damn debate. That's
He
already
probably it's likely that because he also can't talk about firearms in an educated way. You put a brace on that thing and it
Shoot
turns
a
your
higher caliber
pistol.
round.
It's a higher caliber
Oh,
bullet.
got
Caliber clip.
Brother GT3 said he got the second bingo.
Oh, nice.
So nice.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's just look. I'm sorry. I know in a lot of ways, I have totally given up hope for these types of things, but I still get so frustrated about how much they lie. It's just beyond me. And look, I'm not like naive to this. Both of them lie. All of them lie. But one is just blatantly lying in your face, literally feeding you a shit sandwich, telling you it's PB&J. Like this is just mind blowing.
And they get so much protection from the media because you can go in. That's again one of the reasons I like long form stuff where we watch a hearing or we watch something where you see what everybody says in their own words. And then you get the little clip on the mainstream media, and it's not what that person was talking about.
Yeah.
And then you go back and look at the entire context of it, much like with Trump and the Charlottesville thing, and you go, that's not what he fucking said.
Yeah.
Now it works out the same way on the other side with Democrats, where they say some extremely stupid shit, like an island's going to tip over, and the media does play it off like someone was just joking, or
He was joking.
Yeah.
You
He
will
was joking.
never.
What's that guy's name? I forget his name.
Hank Johnson.
Hank Johnson. Yeah.
I always think it was Cory Booker for some reason. Mostly
No.
because
No. Cory Booker was like still mayor of Newark, New Jersey at the
Cory
time.
Booker is crazy eyes.
No.
He's Spartacus.
that's why
Cory
Newark,
Booker came out as straight.
that's why Newark, New Jersey is doing so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the only man to ever come out as straight. Nobody believed him.
I certainly don't believe that at all. But it's so hard to. I mean, it is like pulling teeth to watch this shit.
My wife called me and she could not stop talking. She was like so mad. Like, I don't know if you saw when I took the phone call, I went on mute. She was so mad.
Dude,
like,
it's a joke. It's so disrespectful to the general public. And the fact, again, I'll say it again, the fact that there are some people, I was going to say half of America, but I do not believe that half of America is thinking this, that there are some percentage of people in the general public in the United States that are sitting at home watching and listening to him, and they're just like, yeah, like, you got him, bazinga. Like, hold on, are you not paying attention to what they're saying? It's like when two middle school kids go up to each other and just like throw insults back and forth, and you just root for the person that you're friends with.
I want to see a golf off or a dance off.
Critical thinking. There's no critical thinking. There's no ability to actually like look into stuff and research it. It's only, this is my tribe.
I want to see them go up and down stairs for a jet for like an hour. Like, who can do it the most times?
Put them on a Stairmaster.
Yeah.
Show me. Oh, I thought Drew said bingo. He said bazinga. Show me. Give me both of them side by side, real time, no earpieces, no BS, and do 10 math problems right next to each other. I want to truly see the speed at which you could complete basic math.
Amen, brother. Amen. I'm with you on that. Make it simple. Dude, you're right. It's Trump. If he said that, would have been a killer line. It's like the only thing. What do you have to say? It's like, gotta be like, the only thing you're afraid of is Stairmaster, or something. Just like if he threw Stairmaster in there. If he just called Biden Stairmaster, you show him Biden Stairmaster.
Yeah.
Trump should have said, "This is a guy on national TV that said my butt's been wiped."
Yeah.
Right.
Literally.
Has your butt been wiped?
Steps. Like, how do you fall up steps? How do you defeat gravity and fall up the steps?
It was windy that day. It was Jean-Claude Van Damme said it was windy that day.
Yeah. In my defense, the only time I've successfully done that, I was hammered. That's the only way I can get it.
So yesterday.
Oh, interesting. So I just saw that Crowder went live on Rumble right around the time the debate was ending, and Tim Pool actually went live on Rumble. I wonder if they got canned on YouTube.
It's possible, because there were a bunch of them. They were like, "Fuck it, we're going to run it." Which, I mean, that's what we did. We just kind of had an alternative plan. We'll still do the bingo. Everybody else just pick it up on your own device, and we'll roll it.
Yep.
So,
dude, it's just absolutely mind-boggling.
So Bongino's got the debate. I'll have to. 7 hours ago.
It's probably just a conversation of the upcoming debate. Obviously,
when is the next one?
I don't know.
There's a next one. There's a part 2.
I think there is a part 2 of this shit show.
I want to see a face slap match, Damien.
I told freaking Bob, we ought to put, all it should be is like a UFC cage fight. Slap gloves on them, lock them in a cage, let them go at it. Let's see how Biden does.
Oh, dude, I would just feel terrible. And
really wanted to make it funny, put him in a circle and make Biden go look for the corners.
Yeah. Right. And look, again, let's be real. Like, I know that, there's no, like, I can't pretend that, one man is going to save us and one man is going to reinstitute freedom, independence, and liberty in our republic. And I don't believe that we're one president away, one man away, one administration away, one 4-year. I don't believe that we're there. However, everyone in here, you cannot tell me that your life has become easier, better, more manageable, and more fulfilling over the last 3.5, 4 years. You can't
I'm
tell
not
me
trying
that.
to be a dick to anyone. I'm doing okay financially. I don't have crump money, but I'll tell you what, it's been hard. It's been a freaking challenge.
Straight up, the most
It,
difficult years of my life were had in this time. And I'm not, yeah.
it's like we don't eat steak anymore. We used to have steak every Sunday night. That was a tradition in the family. I would sous vide a steak and I would grill it after sous videing on Sunday. It's like we don't buy steak anymore. It's too freaking expensive.
Z says he feels less safe. There are more people that are being targeted, raped, and murdered by illegal, not even just illegal, like border jumpers, like people that are coming over in droves. They're neutering the border patrol. They're every single thing that they have done.
They haven't just neutered them. They have forced the border patrol to cut fences down in Texas to facilitate illegals crossing.
And you know what they give them when they come over? A
flight anywhere they want to go and a gift card.
What do you call it? The untrackable, untraceable debit card with I thought it was $2,000, $3,000. I'm about to go over to Mexico.
You get
and come
$3,000 to come in the country.
Yeah, I need to make that
$3,000 to come in the country illegally. Illegally. When you break the law and come into our country illegally, you get given like $2,800 or $3,000.
So,
insane.
Like, Dark, if you robbed a hot dog stand and took all their cash, you get to keep that cash, right?
Like the $17 in quarters that they have. Let's be real. No, if you commit an illegal act and you receive ill-gotten gains for it, typically the government will take those things and they'll also seize any assets that you used in the commission of the crime as well. But for everyone out there thinking like,
so they should be cutting off all these people's legs, is what you're saying.
Yes. Look, the reality is this. Like, I know some people that came over on the frontier, right? The frontera. I get it. Like the people that dedicated like days and days and days to hike through jungle, desert, river, whatever, all the crazy shit, passing by rape trees and all that. Like, you know what? If they came over here and they built a better life, like, okay, that's whatever. I'm not even mad at that. Obviously, lawful immigration is preferred, but we're not talking about that anymore. The frontier to get to the U.S. is over. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that have now accumulated to millions of people, right? I'm talking like at a time, that are literally taking flights from other countries, not just people coming from Central America and South America. These people are taking flights from other countries. They're doing the research to see where they can go from here to there, from here to there, then from here to there. And then they're literally taking a flight to Mexicali, and they have less than a 100-yard trek to the border. So much so, this has gotten so bad that if you think of what a junkyard looks like, this field on this documentary that I saw was a literal field. It was in Arizona. It was a literal field of government IDs, passports, and currency from other countries all over the ground outside.
Look, if I was a criminal, if I was fill in the blank in another country, I would just come over and say I'm Juan Valdez and, I'm from wherever. Boom, all of a sudden my past is washed. I'm no longer a murderer, a rapist, or a smuggler, a drug dealer, nothing. Yep. I'm just as good as everybody else, and I got $3,000.
Pretty much all the ones that they've caught in the last little while, committing rapes, committing murders, committing robberies, all had criminal records from their country of origin.
And
They
that's the
came
problem.
here
Like,
starting
so
out with a brand new slate and then
Yeah.
still committed the crime.
yes,
Hmm. Bro, it's it's bad. It's very bad. I don't see anything being saved, but I will say that my little bit of anecdotal, from my personal perspective, my life was so much easier prior to this current administration. Everything was better from obviously the border standpoint was different. Still, it was still a challenge. It's always been a challenge. They're just different challenges. Um, we're not at the time, like right now, we are literally giving benefits to people to break the law and come over here illegally, right?
Yes.
We are they are getting value, not just the opportunity to maybe make it. They are literally getting instant gratification by breaking the law and coming over here, which is insanity. And then of course you're going to attract certain types of people. And it was just like a week ago that there were like 3 more people killed in Maryland by
Yes.
undocumented illegal immigrants. Like, what the fuck?
And they won't be honest about a lot of the times. There was just one the other day. Ended up, I'd have to look it up, committed a very serious crime, got released on a $500 bond, $500 now. And then the judge dropped charges later, or the DA did. Because they don't
Wow.
want the statistics on that. They
Oh,
don't
for
want
sure.
that
Well,
floating around.
Yeah,
well,
they're not
that's like the
gonna.
FBI statistics. All the major cities are not reporting their violent crime to the FBI. This way, Joe Biden can say violent crime is down.
Yes.
But it's because there's a lack of reporting, not because crime is actually down. It's because the major cities where the crimes happen are not
Dude,
yeah.
reporting their data.
And John Lott has broken those numbers down.
Oh, yeah.
Brought the receipts on that. So if someone thought they don't know what they're talking about. Go look at John.
Everything is more dangerous. Everything. There's more theft. There's more violent crime. There's more. I mean, basic stuff like more people's packages are getting stolen off their
Yes.
porch. More people's cars are getting broken into. More cars are being stolen. People are squatting more. Like everything. These little things, right? And we always talk about like the subversion of the general public of the United States and the shift of the morale and all that stuff. This is exactly that. This is chipping away, and this is not only over the last 3.5 years. This has been a century long, more than a century of slowly chipping away at freedom, independence, and liberty. And whatever they take away, they will never give back. And we end up in this hole, and all we have is a shovel. It's crazy, man.
And it's it's like you talked about earlier, one man can't save it. And we talked about that when I was on stream with Red Dawn not too long back. If Trump wins, if Trump really does drain the swamp, he'll buy us a few years.
At least make our lives easier.
Yeah, if we had a big change after that, maybe we really start headed in the right direction. But I'm telling you, if Biden stays in, the Democrats basically get control of the House and keep control of the Senate, it's locked. It's done. It's over. It's everything, every right you have, just go ahead and kiss it fucking goodbye. You're toast.
Yeah, and look, Trump is certainly not perfect. I think all of us can agree with that. There's a lot of terrible things that occurred during that presidency, and you know what? A lot of things that are still affecting us to this day that we're watching get pushed through the Supreme Court. Some things not ending, and possibly not ending in our favor. We know it. It's no. I don't want this to seem like people may jump in and be like, oh, Dark is like shilling for Trump, not shilling, but you know what I mean. Like dude, I'm just begging for like a little relief. Now I'm also in my personal life trying to do small things here and there to make myself more free and independent and enjoying liberty. But man, we cannot say that groceries have not become 2-3 times the cost. I talk to the kids that work there. Kids, 16, 18, 21-year-old kids at the grocery store. Every single time I check out, I ask them questions. So what do you guys think? You guys think prices have gone up? Like, what are your thoughts? And just kind of talk to them. And even the kids are talking, from a different perspective.
Definitely needs to scoot that way. Yeah, it's man. If people have such short memories, they don't realize or don't seem to remember. Before Biden got in office, I could go get a hamburger and fries for about $6. That same meal now is 10 and some change. I could go get a sausage biscuit and a cup of coffee in the morning. It was $5. Last time I paid, it was freaking what, $7.50 or something like that.
There was an actual dollar menu at one point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating to watch that shit and watch the fucking lies just roll out of his mouth, man. It's insane.
Well, if they keep pulling some of the crap they're pulling, like the tags they want to do on cattle, testing cattle for bird flu, which is they'll be killing cattle right and left. You're going to watch all those food prices shoot through the roof. You think they're bad now? Give it a little bit.
Oh, bro,
they've already had mass kills on poultry, such as chickens and stuff like that.
Over 2 million.
Which shuts down egg production, meat production, and it's just going to continue.
Dude, cow meat, like buying an actual whole cow or cows is like $5 or over $5 now a pound. It is absurd. Hold on, Black Diamond Guns again, Josh. Tell me something. What am I pussyfooting around? I don't understand that comment. What was I pussyfooting around?
Who said that?
I don't know. I didn't see the name. Hang on, let me see what Josh said.
Yeah, Josh wanted to see the RFK. So RFK is answering all of the debate questions right now. Look, RFK is globalist. He's good on a couple of issues. If you look at diagrams, there's an intersection of what libertarians and RFK wants. But RFK is not a conservative. He's not a libertarian. He is a far left Democrat.
Well,
I don't think it's right they shut him out. I think it's reasonable to have him in a debate. I think if you had RFK in there, it would show how bad Joe Biden is. That Joe Biden can carry a conversation.
Joe Biden is so lost so many times tonight.
Oh yeah, the only thing that saved him was whoever was singing sweet lullabies in his ear. That's it. They were literally telling him exactly what to say, and they probably could not exceed more than half a sentence at a time as they force-fed him words to say.
Like I said, it came out in the last couple of days that Joe Biden had all of the questions he was going to get asked. So Trump didn't get that.
Yeah.
So Trump's actually, expanding on these things extemporaneous. He's just speaking.
It's amazing to me that Hillary, when she debated Trump, got all the questions through. Who was the lady that was that she was later hired by Fox News, which I nearly fell out of my chair when I heard that.
She was head of the DNC at the time.
Yes.
Oh God, what was her name?
He said, "I just think it's funny he's putting on his own debate."
Well, I think Reason TV, I think, is the one who actually got him to do it, or one of the guys from Reason decided
Donna Brazile
to do that. Yeah, Donna Brazile, that was the one.
Donna Brazile, and so she's working at Fox along with who was going to be VP? He was Speaker of the House under Mitt Romney. I'm blocking on his name.
I don't know. I don't follow. Is it bad that I don't follow that stuff? That
Ryan.
Paul Ryan.
And what's up with the federal red flag law? Did y'all see that?
Yeah, I don't know.
They've been trying to pass a couple, and they haven't hit yet. Now, in the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, there was a lot of federal money in there to fund states if they pass their own red flag laws. Michigan was trying it last night, I think, or very early this morning. They ran a session, stopped it at 11:59, and then picked it up at 12:05 in the morning, and were running it. 2AEDU was covering it. But so far, I don't think anything federal's moving, except for the fact that there are all sorts of grants out there. So if the state develops their own red flag law, they can submit it to the attorney general, and the attorney general can say, okay, that's a good red flag law. Here's all this federal money. Here's millions of dollars.
Yeah, I gotta see. Apparently, Guns and Gadgets dropped a video today saying, "Here it is, new federal red flag law." I didn't watch it yet, though. Let me piss real quick. I'll do the thing.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it and see, because as far as I heard, nothing had passed the House yet as far as federal red flags. Now, they've been submitted, but they haven't passed.
So Bob Masavo is saying, hey, Rahimi didn't help. Rahimi was a crap case. I don't even know how that got to the Supreme Court.
And well, it got to the Supreme Court because the government was pushing it.
Yeah. It really wasn't a good case.
No, Rahimi was a dog. But, you know, there are a lot of times where our rights are defended in court, not by a good person. They're going to be defended by a criminal who's just basically trying to knock down other charges. And that's what Rahimi was doing, was trying to knock down the gun charges. And the government knew it was a dog-ass case, so they kept pushing it to get it to the Supremes.
Fat Gray Man is just commenting about gun violence epidemic. Yeah, Coop covered that. He's like, yeah, funny thing we didn't talk about guns and violence.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look, some of the stuff that I had on one of the bingo cards, assault weapons, gun industry, NRA, it's the guns. None of that got hit.
Yeah.
And see, Biden and them are staying away from it because they know guns are a losing issue. There's too many new gun owners out there. Millions.
Well, also his son just got busted. So
his son just got
the best ever was the guilty verdict came out, like Fox was doing a split screen of the guilty verdict and Joe Biden talking about the AFT.
Yeah. He never can say ATF. But that's why that one plasma cut that you'll see sometimes that I use as a icon says fuck the AFT, because Biden kept calling it the AFT in one of his speeches.
Yeah.
Well, fuck the American Teachers Federation too, so.
Wow.
But you could definitely tell. Of course, Biden's still mumble rapping half the time. The look on his face when he was trying to kind of have a sarcastic smile was
it was kind of weird.
It was creepy as fuck. Yeah,
he's like, dude, he just looked like terrified. Did y'all hear? Okay, so Trump absolutely violated our natural rights that are supposed to be protected by the Constitution. Now let's push that to the side for a moment. Okay, did you hear Biden challenging Trump, saying that he was the one that was the violator, that you took an oath to the Constitution? Like, bro, you have literally made it your life's work to do every single thing that you can to violate our natural rights that are supposed to be protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. Who the if that isn't the pot calling the kettle, like, bro, come on.
Anytime you have these guys talking about democracy, understand that means they do not give a rat's ass about constitutional rights.
Yeah,
well, it's
that is the subversion. That is the subversion of they're subverting, because we are a constitutional republic, and this is the beginning of Democrats and Republicans, is that same exact thought that you're talking about, the difference of democracy and a constitutional republic, and all it's just constant. Not only is it the people at the top that are trying to the string pullers and the people like Biden and all of them, they're constantly trying to tug at those strings to get more control. The purpose of this experiment was not for the federal government and corporations like Alphabet, Google, YouTube, all these massive media conglomerates, all these people to rule us, right? Ever.
But look at the relationship in between those things. So
I'm sorry, I forgot banks too. Sorry, go ahead.
These companies, Alphabet, Google, all these media companies, they get bigger and bigger. But what they're actually doing in most cases is they're protecting the government's narrative. So the more they grow, the more they protect the narrative, the more the government protects them, the more the government feeds them, and they just keep cycling it through.
They're literally getting funded by the government too.
Yeah. The banks just become money laundering institutions for the damn government. So, of course, you got to protect them.
Yeah. but my democracy. We got to protect democracy. And it also makes me think, like, I remember in like 2001 and 2 when people were talking about we have to go to these foreign places and inject democracy.
Yes.
Interesting.
Inject it with a lot of bullets.
Yeah, and inject it with ordnance.
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm spitting fucking 20 millimeter democracy at these motherfuckers.
Yeah. 155 millimeter
democracy.
Dude, did you hear that at the speed that Ukraine is unleashing our 155 millimeter ordnance, that it would take like something like an entire century, 100 years, for us to replace the amount of United States ordnance that they've used over there, so much that we're literally like out of ammunition.
We are going to be stuck like Chuck if we actually have to go in and fight a kinetic war.
Yeah,
we have sent so much to Ukraine and all these little side, countries out here that we're kind of financing and we're arming.
It is kind of like side hustles.
It is for the government.
Yeah, for them, yeah, literally, it's like side hustles.
I mean, how many people actually heard about the base that we had in it's one of the African countries, and the Russians surrounded it. We ended up having to leave it, then the Russians took it over as a drone base.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They were actually three bases worth millions of dollars a piece.
Yeah.
We supported a coup, then they turned around on us, and then now all the Russians have all that shit.
Yeah, I'm not even hip.
Yeah, that got very little press. So that's AFRICOM, United States Africa Command.
That's the first time I heard about it. Matt Gaetz asked about it in a hearing, and I was like, "Hold on, what?"
That's been totally on the DL for a very long time.
Interesting how that happens.
It's one of those times where I watch stuff in those hearings and I go do research and I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah.
So this is the thing that drives me crazy. We talk about like, whoa, so the genesis of Russia interfering with Trump's election was that somebody in Russia spent $200 on Facebook ads. That's the genesis of the Russian interfering with the U.S. elections for Trump. So this is complete BS. It's not even a rounding error. But meanwhile, we have our politicians talking about overthrowing sovereign governments, like getting rid of Bibi Netanyahu in Israel. Our politicians and our government are talking about doing
Obama during his administration funneled millions into Bibi Netanyahu's the guy who was running against him.
Yeah.
Funneled millions into it, trying to affect that election.
And sent his election team over there to help them out.
Yes.
Damn.
So that's crazy. That's like, it's one thing if you do it kind of covert with the CIA, in a color revolution. But when you're actually sending the president's election team over there to help depose, a sitting democratically elected, as we like to say, politician of a sovereign country. That's nutso.
These people, and it's what what kills me. That's why I started calling people NPCs, non-playable characters. And some people were doing that for me, and then it finally just caught on with me. But because they have no critical thinking skills, they get their updates from MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, and whoever, and they just turn around and puke that shit up on everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah, and they just get the headlines and the bullet points. It's not like they're taking information, going and then looking it up and then researching it and then saying, that's an interesting perspective. How about I look at some other viewpoints and see, how I align in the no. It's like, and you know what? It's people on all sides are guilty of it,
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Fox News in that one.
Yeah, I mean,
Buddy Dark and I were talking about this earlier today.
Was that today?
Yeah, legit. My father-in-law, it's like CNN has their hand up his ass and are moving his lips.
Yeah. That's how it is, though, because it makes them feel informed, it makes them feel intelligent, and it makes them feel like they're educating somebody else. So, but what does that do, right? Because this is all programming coming from everyone, from the government to all of those big multimedia companies that we talked multimedia. It sounds like I'm an old man when I'm saying that, but to all these big companies that we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That sows division amongst the general public. Now, how possibly could division be good for these types of?
Well, if whites versus blacks, men versus women, rich against poor, straight versus gay, you name 10 other
versus blue. And then what does that do to social media?
If we're all fighting, lights social media on fire, but also makes us not realize, hey, the government's screwing us.
Exactly.
If we're all fighting among ourselves, we never look up and realize who's got their thumb pushing on us.
It's basically like.
Go ahead, Art.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, they can talk about rich, poor, color this, poor, whatever. And it really is what Dark was saying. They keep us separated into our own little factions. And then we're kind of going back and forth at each other a little bit. Or you got people like us that are out there going, look, dude, this isn't the fight. It isn't us against this person, us against that person. It is all of us against the fucking government. Wake up. We can disagree about our bullshit later. Let's fix some shit so our country's still here in 10 years. Yeah. And then we can get to these other disagreements.
What drives me crazy is they're talking about, not enough money. It's like, well, it's just like, my family and credit cards. I'm like, hey, give me the credit cards. We have more than enough money. If you spend like stupid mofos, there is no way we are going to be living on the street. And I had to take the cards for my wife and daughter. I'm like, no, this ends now. Done.
Well, that's somebody,
and that's the federal government. That's nobody saying, hey, give me the credit cards.
They're not
the federal government.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Fed is out there spending stupid amounts of money. And this always happens. It happened under Trump. It happened under Reagan. It happened under Kennedy. If you cut the federal income tax, the rate of taxes that people pay, believe it or not, it doesn't make sense if you think about it superficially. There is a higher revenue to the IRS. The IRS takes in more money. You raise taxes, the IRS takes in less money. So all the Democrats talking about raising taxes will never fix a thing. It has never fixed it. Raising taxes always, yes. It's the same play. They're telling you the same crap, and all it does is make things worse. Obama was confronted with that, saying, hey, if you lower taxes, you'll have more revenue to the IRS. He said, well, I want to punish the rich. That's a quote from him.
I believe that.
This is crazy. Look,
the best analogy that I could give is basically if you think of like a like an aquarium, not like with water. What's it called? Like the ones that like
Terrarium.
lizards live in and shit. Is that
Terrarium.
terrain?
Yeah.
Okay, one of those, just like full of ants, right? And somebody's up there with a magnifying glass, just shining, the sun down in there, and all the ants are going over to the light, trying to like attack the light, like stop it, light, bad light. But no one is taking a moment to look up and be like, yo, who is this asshole
Yeah.
shining this light on us? This is ridiculous. We're all fighting over the light, and then once we get to the light, we're all like, hey, I'm fighting. No, I'm fighting. No, you back up. And then you got the division there, and it's just insane that most of these people are just so blinded by simple bullshit, or they're obviously programmed by the mainstream media and even alt media nowadays. Social media the way that it is, it's like just intoxicating for people. They just can't take a break, take a moment, and like take a step back and reflect on what they're actually consuming, and use logic. Like what you just described, Rich, is you taking a look at your family, your finances, looking at your budget, all the money that you have, and coming to a conclusion, making a decision, and being a leader, and saying, no, we can't do this bad, this will destroy us, we need to stop, and then making a call and then doing something about it. The first problem with that actually happening here, first off, all the money that everything, it's all fake, it's all pretend, it's not real.
Yes.
Nothing is real about it. If it like the whole money just, it doesn't even exist, but it does. So sorry, but I forgot where I was even going with it, but like none of that shit exists anyway. But no one is going to like step in and step up and make changes like you did with your family. That's a much more controlled environment. But I forgot where I was going with it. Anyway, I don't know. I'm pissed.
There was the House Judiciary made a post today talking about how much of the budget or the debt actually went up under Trump, all the money that was spent. And I posted underneath their post, you guys voted for it. So, you guys, the House has the power of the purse. Don't talk about Trump's budget when you sons of bitches wrote all the pork into it and then you voted to spend all the money. You should have been, no, we can't spend that. No, we're not voting for that budget. No, we're cutting this. No, we're cutting that. Nope. No matter how much tax money they take in, they spend more. And then they turn around and
we have to send $180 million for Pakistani and gender studies.
Yes.
Sorry, Coop.
And then they turn around and come after, we're going after the rich for more taxes. What that does is that lowers the amount of money they have to actually invest and spend in companies, which kills jobs, which actually lowers the amount of income that the government takes in. It's the same old thing. If you want less of something, tax it. The more you tax it, the less it will grow. Incomes are no different.
Yeah. Martin Kaminsky says Nancy Pelosi increased the national debt by 80% when she held the hammer. Facts.
Yes. Chessport said complacently has made Americans ballless. Yes.
I was just reading that. Yeah. Well, it's also
spot on.
It's interesting when you look at where we are and understand that everything that happens is designed for the purpose for us to consume. Because when we consume, we're spending money, obviously, and when we consume and spend money, we're eating and drinking and we're distracted. Everything will not melt down. Yeah, exactly. Bread and circuses. Everything will not melt down. We will not see the things that a lot of us have been, carefully preparing for until people start to really feel it, and until people start to literally die of thirst and starve to death. When those two things start to happen, scarcity will change the planet.
Yes.
The feeling of scarcity, when you feel like your family, your children, like if I was not able to procure food to feed my daughter, the shit that
For
I would
me.
be willing to do to
Oh, yeah.
get said food for her would be there's no limit, you know, and we have been programmed into this world of just consumerism and convenience and to stay in this little fucking circle and just be happy going, you know, constantly all around and all around getting played the whole way. You just pay your taxes, plebe, while our new neighbors work under the table cooking cats in the streets. JC9, good to see you. Rich wants crazy party with Ting. Yeah, I wouldn't want crazy. Let's see. The government theoretically now has the right to censor social media, which encompasses way more than Facebook, X, Insta, which they feel promotes false information. Yeah, I don't see any of us going to a place of
Kurt
increased.
pimping this new company called Definition Knives.
You know, that's crazy. I heard about them. Did you hear the kind of stuff that they're coming out with?
I
Dude,
hear they're coming out with a couple of really nice knives. 4 knives, actually.
yeah, they're launching 4 knives. These things, the quality that you're getting for you know, something as simple as an EDC folding knife, dude, I actually got to handle them. They are insane. And the packaging, oh, sorry, let me stop. I just want to say, Kurt, thank you for dropping that, because Definition Knives is going to change the game for EDC knives that people typically spend $250, $300 for. Totally going to change the game. So shout out to them. I heard they're dropping in July, probably sometime in July. Hey, free CRS.
Oh, free CRS. Look at that.
My guy. We miss you, CRS. We love you.
Oh, and Erica's out there, sugar tits. I just got a message from Matt. I just replied to him.
Chessboard says DLD After Dark. Wait till they cut meat production and push their
Big Petri dish shit. Oh,
probably
the
bug
Microsoft synthetic meat.
Yeah, the lab grown meat.
I think that's probably a reason why we've seen a huge uptick in the Lone Star tick. No pun intended with the uptick. The Lone Star tick is a tick that when it seems to have been genetically modified somehow. And the Lone Star tick, yes, the Lone Star tick is a tick that when it bites you, you become allergic to red meat and some other foods for like years.
So, well, and I'll tell you a perfect example of that. My dad, let's see, I was
getting out
19,
soon. TMC getting out soon.
I was 19, I think. I was actually staying with a girlfriend. I got a call one day, get to the house, they're loading your dad on an ambulance. Anyway, I get there, he had just about completely shut down. Well, come to find out what it was is he was allergic to red meat. And then I was staying with him a couple of years later. And I got up and I was doing stuff for work. And I heard my dad get up and go to work. And then I heard him fall over and went in there. He was going out again. So that time I loaded him up in the truck and drove his ass to the hospital. He'd ate some chili, and what it was, it had some actual beef in it, and he coded out.
Wow.
Respiration drop, hives, you name it. It's anaphylactic shock. But after a few years of eating nothing but basically chicken and, lettuce, he got back to where he could eat steaks and could start eating ground beef again.
Well, was it a few years you said, or how long was it?
Shit, about a decade.
Woo! Dang. Okay, and actually, Chessboard said DLD After Dark. That is a fact about the tick. I'm telling you guys, look up Chessboard. Look up I think it's called the Lone Star tick.
Yeah, it's the Lone Star.
Yeah, there's another name I heard people calling it, but man, it's crazy. Like that. What other purpose would we have this whole, initiative for people to, cow farts are bad and whatever. These are the same motherfuckers that are flying on private jets all over the place, right? Like, come on, cow farts? Are you kidding me? Cow farts for real? There's a reason that they want cows eliminated or reduced. And whatever reason that may be, whatever, Soros or CCP funded grain factories that have been purchased, all the agricultural land that's been purchased, whatever the next, guys, they are literally doing stuff that is planned a century in advance. These are people that, for an example, in the year 2000, when the C-19 trials, the first patent was taken out. I want to be cautious about what I'm saying. When those patents were first taken out in the year 2000, by the way, first patent was taken out by the CDC.
Yes.
In the year 2015, your boy Richard Rothschild took out patents for the novel C-19 testing, tracking, and tracing, meaning that for every single Q-tip that went up a nose, they got paid. For every
Yep.
single app that was downloaded on every iPad, iPhone, Android, and every device, they got paid. For all the CDC and WHO sending all the information out about, potential interactions with people with the karate cold and all that stuff, they were getting paid for all that. Now, tell me, how were these fools taking out patents in 2000, 2008, 9, 11, 12, to when Richard Rothschild took out patents in 2015, 16, 17, and then all of a sudden 2019, 20, boom, pandemic hits, and it's crazy, right? Because these are things that they plan for in advance. The same thing that we're seeing all these planes crash into grain facilities and General Mills plants and all this stuff, because they likely have something planned that we have no idea about at all.
You're seeing meat production plants get whittled down to where you basically have about 3 actual large meat production plants around the United States.
The cost of it's almost impossible for people that are in the business of purchasing cows to maintain.
Yeah. Well, when George Bush, when he signed the ethanol bill, one thing you saw happen then was the price of beef dropped through the floor for a little while, because what was happening is all of these farmers, instead of growing feed corn and growing other products to feed cows, switched to doing ethanol corn. So it was so expensive to feed cows, they couldn't manage to raise, or couldn't afford to raise them. So they were slaughtering the shit out of them. And that flooded the market with meat at that time. And you saw steak prices dropped off to damn chicken prices at the time.
Yeah.
But now that kind of stabilized, and then all you see is meat prices just continue to run up and run up and run up. And now they're looking for another way to lower the actual supply of the animal again, which is going to cause prices to continue to go up.
Yeah. Yep. Dude, the per pound price of cows, like for a person that's in the business, it has gone up from like $2.50 per pound to $3 per pound, which is high, right? All the way up to $5 to $5.50 per pound. That is it's totally pricing people out. And what do they do? What is the government and the string pullers? What are they known to do? First, they try to do whatever they can to price people out to where people can only be in a certain, price brackets. What they did for the NFA, right? Let's price them out. We don't want them to have this stuff. Let's price them out,
Sugar, as long as you guys are doing good and you guys will get back. It's going to be a road, but you guys will get back. The biggest thing is getting Matt back out. And with the family again, and then the rest of the road's gravy after that. No matter how hard it gets, the rest of that road's gravy.
Yeah, you're not too far away, and she's doing some really cool, impressive things. So you keep doing what you're doing. She'll come out with some stuff, in the future.
But getting back to what we're talking about, governments will always find a way, especially ours, to control people. If they can't control you one way, and it's kind of an all the above approach. Let's control their money. Let's control their food. Let's control their housing. Let's control their vehicles. And just make everybody that much more dependent on the government. Because when you're that much more dependent on them, then you end up with people that They're not about to vote against the government giving them something. We need more government.
Yeah. It's for safety and security and
Yeah.
my fifis.
We will shoot you in the face to save your life. Something like that. Ask Brian Malinowski.
Let's see. Bob Masova says, Dark, they took out patents then because there is SARS-CoV-1, SARS-CoV-19 is SARS-CoV-2. So what the patent says is the novel COVID-19 vaccine trials, and then the one in 2015 that Richard Rothschild took out specifically says the novel COVID-19 SARS-2 testing, tracking, and tracing, and it's public too. So look it up and see what I'm talking about.
Sugar, my address, and I tried to tell you about it once before. My email address is ticking down at the bottom. Hold on, let me grab something.
Come on, PLA, what's up, bro? We will be 3D printing our steaks soon enough, dude. The kind of stuff I'm 3D printing, bro, I would not be surprised.
So send me an address to ship it to, and I'll send you this one.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Just be careful. If you don't hang it up correctly, like I did not, it may try to kill you.
Yeah, it may try to kill you. Trust me, mine have tried to kill me a couple times. But
oh yeah, you've dealt with that too. Yeah.
It's metal. I'm used to getting hit in the head with stuff like that.
Yeah, I was trying to be slick, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can just lean it up against the top of my door frame, and then like use like a nail or something like that. And just over time, it started like bending the nail in the drywall, and it tried to kill me several times. So, but I am doing this. I'm actually putting up a bracket. So you see where the DLD After Dark sign is up there.
Yeah.
And that is a real sign. It's not. I guess Rich was saying that it looks like it was like digitally added after or something like that.
It almost does.
It does, right? You know what's crazy? If you crank up so check this out. So that's the lowest setting, that's the second setting, and that's the highest setting. It's insane. Yeah, it's crazy. So what I'm doing is I am setting up brackets on the wall. I'm taking the whole P80 wall of boxes down, and then I'm going to put up wood. I was going to do 2x4s, but I'm actually going to take reclaimed lumber from pallets from other P80 orders in the past, and I'm literally going to brace the wall from floor to ceiling, and I'm going to hang up the big gun wall, slat wall shit, and just bang it right into the to the wood, into the studs, so that way it's kind of anchored, and it's anchored from floor to ceiling as well. And then I guess I'd probably be able to hang up the plasma cuts then too. I still got them. I mean, they're chilling over here. I love them. I just haven't been able to
try to
use them.
hang them on some little itty bitty tiny nail.
Yeah, I gotta stud them for sure.
Well, you are a stud, so.
Dark, I need receipts, i.e. patient numbers. So I can't give you patient number. I have this patient 0. That's the patient number I can give you. No, I'm serious. Like, go to, I know a lot of people don't like using Google. Go to Google and type in COVID-19 patents, and all the public patents will pop up. And you will literally see that from the year 2019 all the way back to the year 2000, there were no less than a dozen patents taken out preparing for exactly what happened when the Kung flu came through.
Oh, it's good, man. You can look.
Patent, not patient. Not patient.
Going into stuff like that, you can look and see the progression of some of this stuff. And yeah, man, they may not have meant for it to escape at that time, but they had been working on it for a very long time. I think there was something under Obama where a bunch of that research had been done in the United States. Something happened, I think, under Obama, and all that shit went overseas. That's how it ends up in a lab in China.
Okay, hold please. Since it appears to be difficult for people to type into the internet, let me pull this up. Okay. Let me know when you can screen share this.
Coming at you.
Okay, is it up? Sorry,
It's
I'm
up.
on a different screen. Okay. System and method for testing C19. Okay. By Rothschild Richard. That's Richard Rothschild in the United States in the year 2015, October the 13th, 2015. This webpage surmises information in PubChem, and you can look it up on Google Patents as well. It was taken out by Google Patents about patent US 202-0279585-A1. This includes chemicals mentioned as reported by PubChem contributors, as well as other content such as title, abstract, and international patent classification. Codes to read more about how this page was constructed, please visit blah, blah, blah. The priority date, da, 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 da. Okay. The full
And how many
text.
how many of you caught that hearing for the COVID-19 that I streamed? What, Monday or Tuesday? Maybe Tuesday. I know some people caught it, but that was another complete shit show. And what it came down to is Republicans are trying to call out all the lies about these vaccines and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, they show video of these manufacturers and some other people talking about, oh, these are 100% effective and they'll stop this virus. And then they show the next part and they're like, well, some of these Democrats went, I always knew these would just, these wouldn't stop the infection, but they would make it less likely to harm me. And then they bust them out. It didn't stop transmission either. And they're like, well, we knew you could always get it, but if you were vaccinated, it wouldn't be that bad. All the excuses they make for this horse shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the handful of young kids that actually died over this was way less than your average flu every single year.
Yeah.
And all the kids that did die from it, of course, had what? Comorbidities. They were obese, diabetic, had heart and lung conditions.
Hepatitis. Some of them, some of the teenagers had like hepatitis, and obviously hepatitis is much easier to live with nowadays than some others. But the crazy thing is the amount of medical errors that were taking place in 45-degree barnwood wall.
Oh, sugar, those are simple. But like I said, send me your address where I can send the big CRS cut to, and I'll send it to you. I'm going to send another guy if he wants it. I'm going to send him the small one. One of the guys that won tonight. But I'll send you the big one.
Nice. Hell yeah. Let's see. Mike McLuhan said, what we are looking at is good and evil, right and wrong, a new world order. And this is why I say it all the time, that we are going through tumultuous times, turbulent times. And it is important that everyone takes the time to get right with your families, get right with God.
I'll check over there.
And they are trying to take men, right? Men who, the role of a man when it comes to leadership and community, and it is so important, and they're trying to dilute you, they're trying to simplify you, and they're trying to neuter you. They don't want you to stand up for what's right, for what's righteous. They don't want you to be a warrior of God and be strong and be committed, because look, once you make that decision, death no longer has a hold over you, and there's nothing in the world that can scare you when you've hit that point. They don't want strong men that are leaders, especially individuals that are military age males, that are armed, that are defiant in the eyes of the government. So be ungovernable. Y'all know. For the people that tune in, y'all know. You know what I'm saying. Yeah. Love y'all.
And it's, I don't care whether you're into firearms. I don't care whether you're into whatever. You may be completely into gardening and not give a shit about firearms, but you want the government off your back because you want to be able to collect your own damn rainwater or something like that. So, and I've said it, and I've said in your stream before and said it in a bunch of others. Mm-hmm. This should be built around freedom. And when we say
Yep.
become ungovernable, yeah, in a lot of cases, hey, train one of your firearms, learn your firearms, build firearms, but also grow a garden.
Yeah.
I didn't this year because I was just at the start of the year, I was messed up. But
Just become
you know,
independent in more
yeah,
ways, you know?
the more independent you can be from the government, the more you will think for yourself. And that's just
Mhm.
going to piss off all the NPCs. Trust me.
Yeah. Bob Masavo, I think that's the correct patent. I gotta go back and look. Hang on. I guess I could
And see,
probably copy
the
this one.
crazy thing about the way that patent is named is we've dealt with coronaviruses. That's all the actual common cold is a coronavirus.
Yeah,
So
COVID-19 wasn't the first.
yeah, if they were pointing it at another virus known, all that, then it would have said coronavirus this or kind of coronavirus that. When they COVID-19, that's where you looked at the actual Wu flu, the Coof.
Yes, yeah, that's the patent. Well, let me double check. Richard Rothschild. Yeah, that looks like the same one. It's a different website, but the original patent that I saw was on Google Patents. Yeah, here, Google Patents. Oh, what the heck? It just took me to Google.
And if you've got any questions about whether that Google patent is right, you can actually go to U.S. government websites for patents and look at it there. It's going to give you the same information.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Sorry, we couldn't find a patent using that information. But if you type it into Google Patents, it doesn't pull up. Interesting. But if you type it into just Google and say patent US dash 20020279585 dash A1, it'll pull up. Douglas Boying, great to see you.
Here, try. Let me throw this in the side chat, Dark. Click on this link and search it from there, just for shits and giggles.
Which link? I don't see anything in
I'm
the private chat.
I'm fixing to put it in right now.
Oh, okay.
Because that should bring you to the actual U.S. Patent Office. It's in the side chat.
Okay.
Matter of fact, let me hit it in the main chat. But that should bring you to the actual U.S. Patent Office.
Based on your search term, it appears you may be looking for information on a specific patent. So hold on. So Bob said, let me go back. SARS-CoV-1 was/is SARS from the early 2000s. So even if that was, hold on, if that number, which is a patent application publication number, is correct for you, I could not find it. So type that in. Just go to Google, type in patent, and then drop that with US in the front, that number, and then -A1. I could literally I just had it pulled up.
And that could be the patent application number, not the number of the patent that they actually got.
That is also true.
Let's not forget, our government has done so much to hide information, to change information. I mean, they've literally been busted changing search terms on stuff.
Here, go ahead and share that.
Yep.
Okay, so if you type in patent US 200-202-795-85-A1 into Google, this, which it may be an application number because it does say A1 afterwards. Even if you type in Richard Rothschild COVID patents or patent or whatever, all of them will show up. And the important thing to note isn't necessarily that it's for the specific novel COVID-19, SARS-2, whichever one, because I know there's obviously different novel SARS viruses, whatever. I'm not a virologist. The important thing to say, to see here is a method here, right here, A method is provided for acquiring and transmitting biometric data, the swabs, of a user where the data is analyzed to determine whether the user is suffering from a viral infection such as COVID-19. So this was them taking out a patent in 2015 for the exact method of testing that we used worldwide millions and millions of times all over the place. Now, it's very similar to like the Q-tips that they use on strep throat, shit or whatever. But the way I see this is that the Rothschilds, whom have been seizing opportunities like this the entire existence of their family, probably knew something was coming, and they knew that it would be wise to take out a patent 4 years and 2 months prior to the pandemic even occurring. You know what I mean? That's why it's strange. Now, it's not just that's strange. Look up all of the patents. If you just type in Richard Rothschild COVID-19 patents, all of them will show, and you'll see at least 4 or 5. And then prior to that, there's been patents taken out for COVID-19 vaccine trials in the year 2000 by the CDC and so many other ones. It just makes you kind of think like, what information did you have prior to the world having it? That's all I'm saying. I would never say that the government would intentionally do something to harm the general populace.
Well, I'm looking at the U.S. Patent Office right now and got their page and search for the COVID-19. There are 330 pages of results for patents.
I believe it. So let's go back here and just type in.
They don't have a freaking fast way to get back to the 330th page, of course.
Okay, so
US
check this.
Makes the shittiest fucking websites possible. That's on purpose.
Oh, dude, they're all terrible, antiquated BS. If you go into Google, because most of this information is under Google Patents, and you type in Richard Rothschild COVID-19 patent, it pulls up the one that we just reviewed. It pulls up other patent applications. It pulls up, let's see if I can find the Google Patents one. Oh, there's actually an entire website dedicated to Richard A. Rothschild inventions. That should be an interesting read.
Yeah, you think?
Guys, I'm going to have to drop.
Yeah, I'm going to have to drop too, man. I'm going to have to wake up early in the morning.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get out of here too. But anyway, let's go ahead. We'll kill this one. G23, Bob, I've got you guys' emails. Hopefully within the next couple of days, I'll send those plasma cuts out to you guys. So be on the lookout. I got to send G23. G2, I'll send you some pictures. I got to see which one Z chose because I sent him a well, help. Hold on. Let me show you guys real quick. So there were 3 that I was giving you guys a choice of. One is the enemy of the state plasma cut.
Nice. That's dope.
The I don't have boating accidents.
Hell yeah. That one's
and then
fire.
the smaller CRS cut. Trying there somewhere. The smaller one. I showed the smaller. Oh, here it is. So the smaller free CRS.
That's fire. That's dope.
So whichever one you guys want of those, just
can
let
you
me know.
Can you make me a plasma cut mouse pad?
I don't think that'll work worth a shit.
JK.
But yeah, anyway. Guys, you already know where you can find me, C&T Designs and Arms. Dark, everybody's on your channel.
Hold on, I see. Bob says, "Dark, you should learn what a continuation in part is." I so you can't tell me that that's not a wee bit suspicious. That one of the top 3 families that literally rule the world financially have come up with the test that was used for
The
that
family that
particular
runs
virus.
every government's central bank.
Yeah, that like, come on, come on. Like that's not. I know I'm not a patent attorney, and I know I'm not a virologist, but I'm also a little skeptical of situations like that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
There's a lot to be skeptical of.
Yeah.
To really be honest.
Yeah.
So Dark, where all can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at DLD After Dark, also everywhere else, Instagram, DLD After Dark. You can also check out my website. It's DLD Hardware. I sell jigs so people can build guns, even when the ATF is trying to stop you from exercising that freedom, making us separate frames and jigs and all that stuff. Now you can actually, well, not now, for like 2 years, you've been able to go on DLD Hardware and purchase jigs and not have to worry about being policed over some stupid BS. There's also tools, maintenance stuff, and all that. And then very soon, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, likely, you'll be seeing Definition knives be launched. You're going to be seeing your favorite YouTube folks talking about them. They are fire EDC knives. And yes, me and Rich are launching Definition knives. It's great because I've already been hearing people all over the place calling them Defiance knives. Everyone's all saying the wrong names, which is awesome and hilarious. But Definition knives, and keep an eye out. It's going to be fire.
All right, Rich, where can they find you?
Flyingrich.com is where all of my social media is at. So Flying Rich Firearms is what I say, like 134 away from 15K. So that's going
Nice.
like gangbusters. That's going good. And of course, that's on YouTube and Flying Rich on YouTube. And that's where I do John Crump Live and other shows. And of course, Flying Rich _ official on the grams, because that's where I shitpost all the time.
Nice.
Oh, also, Flying Rich on Twitter, where I'm allowed to post gun deals.
For now.
So if you follow me on Flying Rich on Twitter. No, Elon and I were like this.
Sure.
Put flyingrich.com, get to it.
Since Dark has the best ending in the business, and then I'll follow my little ending later, but Dark, give everybody your ending, because everybody's on my channel, your channel, Rich's channel.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is kind of cool to do the show together. I appreciate that. Goombeam said, "Can't wait to flex my divinity knives." Yeah, yes, absolutely. Definition knives. So guys, look, I told you guys how important it is to first get right with your family, get right with God, and how important it is to be a man, to stand up for what's right and what's righteous, have a close relationship with Jesus Christ, and to also understand what it is to be a warrior of God. I think that's really important. And for us to hold ourselves to these high standards, it's important that we create our own rules, standards, and expectations. Some of the rules that I like to share with you guys before I close each stream is this. Rule number 1 is to be kind. It's so important that we're kind in everything that we do. That brief interaction that you have with someone else could have a massive impact on their life. So just be kind. Rule number 2 is to, Rich, didn't you do an AI version of my closing, like a deep fake of my closing before?
Did I? Maybe I've done. Yeah, I think I have. Yeah,
I think you did. Yeah, maybe we should run that. Anyway, rule number 2 is to live a life of care, compassion, contribution, give to others. When you bless others, you become blessed, because a hand that's open to give is open to receive. And rule number 3, which is also my favorite, is rule number 3, because we know the only way for us to defeat evil is with good men skilled in violence. Make sure that you're becoming as highly skilled in violence as you possibly can be, and be safe, be dangerous, and keep that thing on you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to end mine real quick, like I always do. You, and I'll say this for last because God knows what YouTube's picking up. You PERPS be cool. Keep that thing on you at all times. And we're out. Love you guys, man. Y'all be cool.